Welcome everyone tonight to our 50th anniversary reunion. By the way, you guys look great. In this video, you're going to see some of your most beloved coaches. You're going to see some athletes. You're going to hear some funny stories. So sit back and enjoy the video.
We're so glad to be here this afternoon, Susie and I, and we know many of you, and we just can't believe that Phillips' 66 Gymnastics has been around for 50 years. It's got to be one of the oldest, if not the oldest, gymnastics club in the United States. And for sure, our famous Phillips 66 Gymnastics Invitational meet is the oldest and ongoing meet in the country. And it's had many world champions and Olympic champions that have gone through that program, both for the men's and the women's. And we're just glad that everyone has taken a time out to come back and enjoy some of the great memories that you've had as a gymnast or as a coach or even as a parent to be associated with the club.
Well, Phillips 66 Gymnastics has a really rich history. In 1964, Ken Treadway, who was the athletic director at Phillips 66 Petroleum Company, he was in Tokyo with the men's Olympic swimming team. And while he was there, he went and watched the 1964 AAU Gymnastics Championships. And he just thought it was a really, really great sport. So he went and met some of the leaders in the gymnastics world and asked if it were possible for Phillips 66 to bid on the 1966 AAU National Championships. He did, and we put on that meet in 1966, the first week of May. Phillips 66 rented all the equipment from George Nissen, and during that week, Ken Treadway had a great idea because he saw what gymnastics could be to Bartlesville. He saw what gymnastics could mean to the families and to the youth. And he took George Nissen out to dinner. They went to Murphy's Steakhouse and got a hot hamburger together. And while they were eating, Ken said, "What about you coming up with a price on what you would sell the equipment to us instead of packing all the equipment up and shipping it back?" And so George Nissen thought about it. He gave Ken Treadway a price, and it turned out to be the exact amount that it would cost to ship all the equipment back. And it was agreed by Phillips management, so they bought the equipment. So after the weekend of the AAU National Championships, Phillips 66 Gymnastics was born.
My name is Jan Castelli, and I was the director of Phillips Wellness Services. I was directly and indirectly involved with the Gymnastics Club for over 35 years. I'd like to congratulate the Gymnastics Club on their 50-year anniversary. I think that's awesome. Looking back in 1979 when I joined Phillips Petroleum Company, Randy Schumacher was the head coach back then, and the program was very solid. Strong girls program, strong boys program. They'd recently moved into this facility as their training facility. And before then, they used to practice down at the Adams Building Gymnasium, setting up their equipment and tearing it down every day for practices. Randy left the program, and Sam Bartow became the head coach of the Gymnastics Club. And it was that 30-year plus period that I really saw the program change. The growth that happened during that 30-year period was amazing, not only in size but in talent as well.
And of course, Susie and I were here for 33 years, and we came from the Oklahoma City area, and we were familiar with the Phillips 66 Gymnastics Club. And I told Susie back then, if we can do as well as we're doing out here on our own, if we had a great organization like the Phillips 66 Club, because we knew about the parents organization and all the things that Phillips did to help promote the kids, then I think that we'll do really well. So we came and interviewed, and fortunately we got the job. And of course, Susie had been active in the political side of gymnastics with being the state chairman of Oklahoma for several years before we came here, and she kept that all the time that she was here. I think she took off a couple of years after she had our son Casey and our daughter Courtney to kind of help them get along as small kids. But then once she got along with that, she held that position for over 30 years. And I know I'm kind of bragging on my wife, but I think that's an amazing accomplishment because, you know, us coaches, I mean, especially if you've been coached by us, we're not always the easiest people to get along with. And she was able to, and it's an elected position, and she was able to hold that position down for over 30 plus years. So
Sam was a visionary. He was creative. He was a risk taker, sometimes positive, sometimes not so positive. But it was his vision that got the program to where it is today. I really saw the growth and the change take place when Sam became the head coach and taking it to the next level. Susie Bartow, his wife, was also involved with gymnastics, and we were very lucky to have her part of the program as well. She was very talented. She was a coach. She was experienced. She was an administrator. She was a strong supporter, and she was there every step of the way, which we really were lucky to have those two head up this program and make it to where it is today. And they didn't do it alone. They had great help. Dave Strobel was the head gymnastics coach for the men, and Lori Bertollet was a gymnast and a coach, and then she became the head coach today and taking the program forward.
I got my start in gymnastics a long, long time ago. I came from a swimming family, and I remember this just like it was yesterday. I walked out of my front door, I was in my front yard, and I saw the girl across the street doing something, and I didn't even know what it was. So I ran across the street to find out what she was doing, and she was doing cartwheels. And her name was Meredith Metcalf, and I asked her if she would teach me how to do cartwheels. And she said, well, she couldn't teach me, but I could learn if I took lessons at Phillips 66 Gymnastics. So I went and begged my mother for me to take gymnastics because we all were swimmers. I was on the swimming team. And I took the gymnastics lessons, and then there were team tryouts. So I tried out for the team, and I didn't make it. Wasn't good enough because I couldn't hold a headstand. But my mom, she really wanted me to be on the team. So she told the coach, if you just put her on the team, I'll make sure she can learn a headstand. Well, we went home, and by golly, I learned a headstand. So I got to be on the Phillips 66 gymnastics team, and that was way back in 1967.
I'm Dave Strobel. I was the boys program director at Phillips 66 Gymnastics from January of 1982 to June of 1997. I started my gymnastics in Pennsylvania, doing high school gymnastics. I had a partial scholarship to the University of Pittsburgh, but before I started attending school in the fall, I came to visit Oklahoma in the summer. I liked it, stayed, was out of gymnastics for a short time, went into the Army in 1975, and I was stationed in Fort Myer, Virginia, in the Old Guard, the ceremonial unit at Washington, D.C. I had the ability to start working out in gymnastics again, and at that time I competed independently, and I also got my national certification, started judging men's gymnastics. When I got out of the Army, I moved back to Oklahoma. I started coaching at Matt Trotter's Gymnastics at that time, and for 3 years I did that. I had transferred from the University of Oklahoma to Central State, now University of Central Oklahoma, and was in my senior year and thought I was going to graduate and go into business management. However, I was contacted by the Phillips 66 Gymnastics Club. Their boys director had left, and they wanted to interview me for the position. I came down, interviewed, and after the first time had decided that I wasn't going to do it. They contacted me again a month later, and at that time, after much prayer, conversations with my wife, and much thought, we decided that we would move here to Bartlesville and take the boys program director.
How I got started with this is I was a wrestler And we were at a tournament in Oklahoma City, and right next to the wrestling equipment was gymnastics equipment. And I had a cousin that was competing in the gymnastics meet. Both competitions ended, and while the parents and coaches were talking, some of the gymnasts taught me how to do a back handspring, and I think maybe even a rounded back handspring. And next thing I know, I'm joining the Gymnastics Club that Monday.
Hey, my name is Steven Anderson. I am the owner at Oklahoma Gymnastics Academy, and I got my start here at Phillips 66 Gymnastics in 1993. Sam Bartow did an interview. He brought in about 20 different high school students to do a tryout. After that tryout, he picked out 2 people and asked me to start coaching. After that, I went on to help Lori with assists at team.
And we had so many kids that had come through our program, and several of them became coaches, and some of them own their own gyms. And we would go to a meet, and we would see maybe 5 or 6 teams that they started out in this program here at Phillips. So it was a good catalyst for gymnastics in general, I think. And we've had several of our kids, boys and girls, that have gone on to be nationally rated judges too. And so, we pretty much, the program has pretty much done the whole gamut of gymnastics.
I am Kelsey Gatling. When I was on the team here from age 5 until 18, I was actually Kelsey Lewis. I have been coming to this gym through all of the name changes from Phillips 66 back to ConocoPhillips and back to Phillips 66. Had both Lori and the Bartows as my coaches, and it was just one of the most amazing experiences I can ever imagine. It helped prepare me for everything in the future.
The coaches here, as a lot of coaches do, they took a chance on all these kids. And I was 13 years old starting this sport, which that was a pretty tough age to start this kind of a sport. But like I said, they took a chance on me, saw something in me, and they were patient with me and took the time to help me develop the techniques and skills. And I had a great career here, and I want to thank a lot of people. And that was my first coach, Jim Blush, and Randy Schumacher. And then shortly after that, Dave and Debbie Strobel came along, and they just really got in there and took us all to another level, and put a lot of time and energy into each one of us. And that's something that started to spark my interest in becoming a coach. I graduated high school in 1986, so I had just a 6-year career here at Phillips Gymnastics. But with Dave's help, I had scholarship offers, but I ended up walking on at OU. I ended up getting a shoulder injury that ended my career pretty quickly. But those things I started thinking about those a lot, the things that the coaches did for us. And then a coaching job came up in Enid, so I took that job and started thinking I didn't really want to coach. It was just something I was going to do for a short time. But then Sam and Susie Bartow, they had the women's program here. They hired me to come coach here, and within just a short time being back here at Phillips Gymnastics, that really sparked something in me again to want to continue coaching, to really pursue it and see how far I could go with it and how I could return back to the sport the things that were given to me through the coaches, the families. So that sparked an interest in wanting to own my own gymnastics center. And that dream did come true. But that would not have come true without my experience here as a gymnast, but definitely without my experience here as a coach and all the people that my life crossed.
I do feel like I'm special, or should I say I'm very lucky, because I got to be coached by Mr. Finch, Jim Bryant, Randy Schumacher, and then I got to work with Sam Bartow for 30 years. I feel like I'm probably one of the luckiest coaches in the United States.
The experience that I've gained at Phillips 66 Gymnastics in the 3 years that I was employed here helped me tremendously in running the gym that I run now. I learned how to coach teams, run meets, operate a business, all from the knowledge I gained from Sam and Susie Bartow and Lori Bertollet. They were expert advisors to me, and I appreciate all the effort they put into me during those years. In my experience, great leaders don't create more followers, they create more leaders. And that is what I've gained from my employment at Phillips 66 Gymnastics. Lori Bertolet, Sam Bartow, Susie Bartow, all taught me how to be a better leader. And they're just a factory for leadership in this community.
I think the best trip, oh, they were all good. Every trip was different and well, it was good, but we had a meet in Washington, D.C., and this was after 9/11, and no one could go to the White House, but Phillips 66 got us in. All the kids got to go, and the coaches, parents could not go in. So we got a tour, and all the FBI men, Secret Service men were going, talk to us. We don't get to talk to anybody because no one goes in there anymore. And that was really a neat experience.
They hadn't done a tour in months, and so they were ready. They loved it, and they took us in so many places that I don't think they usually take. Ordinary groups, down in the basement and up in some of the rooms, some of the things that had happened, and it was just really interesting. The kids loved it, and we went. It was wintertime, and we went ice skating right in front of the Capitol, and in that arena that they have out there, and we went to see a lot of the monuments, and it was snowing, and some great pictures we brought back.
Yeah. Some of the best times that we ever had were when Kelsey was competing and we were traveling as parents with the team. We went to New Orleans many times and had many adventures there with the coaching staff, and then we traveled to Fort Lauderdale. I think there was one time at a meet. We did a lot of travels with parents and coaching, and it was a lot of fun. I remember one time Sam took us to the Court of Two Sisters in New Orleans, and we all had the adventure of sucking crawdad brains for the first time together, and it was seeing Kelsey and the rest of the younger girls' reaction to that adventure was pretty special.
I came in as a 26-year-old guy that was still working out, thought he was in pretty good shape, and one night after practice was over, Jim and I went over to rings, and we thought we'd work out a little bit, and working out usually showing your stuff. So I kipped up to the now and did my press handstand, came down, did an iron cross, and thought I was doing pretty good. Jim hung upside down, and literally from an upside down position with no swing, pulled himself up through an inverted cross, went right to a handstand. I mean, there's not many people in the world at that time, I think, that could have done that, and Jim Blush could do that. So I think he put me in my place real quick.
But so many great memories. Traveling with everybody was always a great thing. The camaraderie, the support from all of the families was just incredible. And once again, those are things that kept building and making me realize that this was more than the sport. And that is what my greatest memories of Phillips Gymnastics, not only as a gymnast and as a coach here, but how we get to use this sport as a vehicle to teach so many life lessons, and to people touch our lives and we also touch their lives, and you just can't really ask for more than that. And,
I did a floor routine to Pac-Man way back in the 70s, or no, 80s, had to be 80s, and Ghostbusters, and anything that was new and popular, I was going to use it, and that was fun. That was fun. The girls liked it, and it was fun to compete with it, and that was the most fun part.
Well, one of the things I remember about the floor routines, I was involved in the tumbling and that part of it, but I would remember Susie's very creative, and some of the things she would kind of put in there, and like maybe take a certain part of the music and put a move that was a lot of times a little bit funny and kind of different, off the wall. Everybody seemed to love it. It was very entertaining, and some of the things I'd go, "Are you sure?" And then I'd go to the meets, and the kids would score great, and the judge would come up to me and goes, "Wow, that was an interesting floor routine."
I remember when I was 11 years old, I had a severe arm break, and through that experience, the Bartos helped me to become 10 times stronger than I ever was. I was mentally tough, and it helped me to go into my college career prepared to get through anything, to be strong and mentally just able to persevere and be tough.
I think that the moments that we most enjoyed and the things that is most been meaningful to Susie and I is all the wonderful kids that we were able to coach, and we had a lot of really supportive parents too, and wouldn't even want to start saying who I coached this year or that year, because after 33 years you coach a lot of different kids. The only thing that I think that we've talked about that's interesting is how the times changed, but the times and the gymnastics evolved so radically over those 33 years that we were here that it's amazing. But the kids and the basic love they had for the sport and the dedication they had was always the same. The equipment might have been a little bit different, back when we first started with the kids back then, but those kids were just as outstanding and motivated as the ones we had at the end. And the ones at the end never, lost that. So that is a lot of tradition, over the years.
This club is so unique because it's actually a smaller club. There's so much love, and it's such a family environment. Even my family all worked here while I was here in the gym. And being able to have a relationship with my coaches as strong as it was, I got to build from that and learn, and it was just absolutely amazing.
The fact that it has both a high level, or did have a high level boys program and girls program, makes it very unique. I think by the time I left here, we were at our 30th annual Boys Invitational in the United States. That was certainly unique throughout the country. It was unique to be able to have the ability to work with boys up to that level. For instance, there are a number of programs that have had boys very low levels, but not levels that were able to develop boys up to a high level. And I had the good fortune while I was here to work with boys up to the highest levels, to include several boys who went elite and tried out and or made the senior national team through this program. I think some of the other unique aspects of the program are the corporate sponsorship and how important that was to this program and how much we appreciated it and how many avenues it opened up. For instance, I don't think a community the size of Bartlesville could support a program of this level at the tuition cost other than the corporate sponsorship that we see. And probably the third area that makes it very unique would be the parent involvement. I know other clubs, now my expertise only goes to really one other club that I was a member of. Of course, through the years I saw many other programs, but we were very engaged and needed the help of parents and received the support of parents for the way we were able to coach their children here, to the support of events, meets, outside events, etc., that I think made Phillips 66 Gymnastics Club very unique.
And the gymnastics has been really positive for this community and the company too. Like I said, we were known from coast to coast, and our kids made friends wherever they went. And I had so many people would come up to me and say, we buy our gasoline at Phillips because we love what they're doing for youth, and a lot of companies won't do that. I mean, a lot of companies get on the bandwagon right before the Olympics, but Phillips gets down there and they get in the trenches and try to help kids out from the very beginning to the end. So we were always really proud of that.
The greatest thing about Phillips 66 Gymnastics and the time that we spent here is just how much of a home this place always was to us. When we pulled into the parking lot today, Kelsey and I instantly felt like we were home.
I really like that.
The funniest experience that we had with one of the floor routines is I started out the music with the national anthem. So during the meet, everybody's going and bars and everything. The national anthem came on, which is one little excerpt from it. and all the judges stood up and they quit judging, and I'm like, whoa. And everybody always talks about that story.
Yeah, I know. Everybody in that stadium had their eyes on that kid on the floor getting ready to do whatever, but that was funny.
Some of the funniest experiences I ever had here was traveling with the Bartos. They would get lost even going to the Tulsa airport to fly on our trips. I remember being in Florida and him turning up a wrong way road, and it was just sitting in the car laughing, cracking up to the point of crying. It was just so much fun, and I will never forget that.
And then when I was coaching here, I got to coach with Lori, and that was a great experience, and we had a lot of great times. There's one particular story I'd like to talk about. She might not want me to talk about it. Like I said, we had a lot of great times. We had a moment where we were in the middle of the season and we had a little argument, just a little disagreement. But Lori started to walk away from me, and I wasn't finished talking, so I said, "You're not going to walk away from me?" So I chased after her and tackled her right in the middle of the competition floor, and instantly we started laughing, so that kind of broke the tension. But like I said, it was just a little disagreement.
I don't know what his deal was that day, but we had gotten into a little bit of a tiff, and I was done. I was done talking to him, so I proceeded to go to the next event to coach, which he got a little bit mad and started chasing me around the floor and ended up tackling me. I have no idea what that was all about.
My first or second day here, we used to do gymnastics reverse of the way it is now. The higher levels were the lower numbers. Class 1s were the highest level gymnasts. Class 2s were the next, et cetera, et cetera. Well, one of my Class 2s was missing. I couldn't find him. And we were doing some work, and as I looked around, I looked up into the beams, and he had climbed up to one of the beams over the pit. I told him he needed to get down from there and get back to practice, so he just proceeded from the pit, about 25 feet down, dropping into the pit.
Yeah, when I was a class coach here, Lori and I got into a bit of a spat where we didn't speak for 2 weeks because I had decided that I would reward my students with candy bars if they had perfect attendance for the month. At the end of the month, there was a few that didn't make perfect attendance, so they didn't receive their candy bar, and I gave them just small, like bite-sized things. Well, she had a parent that went and was quite upset that it wasn't her daughter's fault that she wasn't here and griped Lori out. So in turn, she wasn't too happy with me. I thought I had done the right thing. She thought she was doing the right thing, and it took about 2 weeks before we ever settled that.
Okay, so funny story about Kelsey Lewis. We were on the bars, and she had told me earlier that maybe she didn't feel very well. So she gets off the bars, does her dismount, proceeds to throw up all over the mats, and then run to the bathroom. And it's like, Kelsey, why didn't you go to the bathroom to throw up? Well, I just wanted to finish my turn. It was just so ridiculous. And of course, I had to clean it up.
I just want to say one thing. We were school teachers first, and then we taught gymnastics. So one of the reasons why we just wanted to do gymnastics is it was such a long day to teach all day and do gymnastics on weekends and everything. But this was the best job ever. I mean, I am so thankful that we got to be here. And of all the, they always say you're really lucky if you love your job. And this is one job that we just met the greatest kids that came through here, the greatest parents. And Phillips 66 was a great sponsor. And I just thinking the other day, best job ever.
Well, it's true. Yeah, it's true. And all the people. I mean, we knew everybody in this town because everybody had come through this gym one time or another. So it really helped us a lot being a part of the community. It helped our children. We raised our children here.
I would definitely want to give a huge thanks to Lori for prepping me mentally to be able to handle the optional group. Huge thanks to the Bartos, because not only were they my coaches, but they were like parents to me. They gave everything they could to help me be prepared to be a Razorback gymnast and be as successful as I was.
I'd like to thank Randy Schumacher. All the work that he did to get us to where we are today. We have a lot to thank him for with this building and for being a nonprofit organization. He did a lot of the groundwork that has let us be who we are.
In the time that we were here, I do have to thank my wife for one, allowing me and supporting me and being a part of what took place here. Not did Debbie only support me in everything I did, she was also one of my coaches that helped with the boys and did a very good job coaching and developed some of the boys that went on to be state and regional champs herself. When we came here, it wasn't just so much about us wanting to develop national level or excellence in gymnastics, although that was important, don't get me wrong. We came here, we were a Christian couple, and to us it was important just as much to have the interrelationship with the kids, turns out with the parents as well, to develop relationships and to try to teach life lessons. We were trying to teach character, teach responsibility, teach things that were way more important than gymnastics. So we worked hard with the kids, we played hard with the kids, we really enjoyed that. So I'd like to take the same time to thank the parents for giving us the opportunity to work with their children, the kids themselves, the opportunity for letting us be a part of their lives, and then for Phillips 66 Gymnastics Club for giving me the opportunity to be here, and of course for Phillips 66, when I wasn't here, ConocoPhillips, again Phillips 66, for being willing to sponsor a program like this that has so much merit for kids and for their growing up and becoming adults that learn a lot of life lessons.
Phillips 66 Gymnastics is very special. We've had 50 years of excellence because of the support and commitment of Phillips 66 Company. They believe in the development of our youth and all the activities that they support, especially gymnastics. So thank you.
After 50 years of Gymnastics Excellence, we are still family.
After 50 years of Gymnastics Excellence in Bartlesville, we're still a family.
50 years of Gymnastics Excellence and still a family.
After 50 years of Gymnastics Excellence, we're still family.
After 50 years of Gymnastics Excellence, we're still a family.
Okay. After 50 years of Gymnastics Excellence, we are still a family.
You're a family all the way through the program. I've been to weddings, funerals, everything. Christenings of children. You're a family.
Well,
Bartlesville is relatively a small community, but we do big gymnastics.